Hey, my name is Avery Saylor, and you are watching the Larger Than Logic podcast. I'd like to take you all back to a not so fun time in my life, but a very, very important and impactful time nonetheless. I'm sure a lot of you all can relate. When I was 12 years old, I began to go to school outside of the house until the age of 12. I was homeschooled. And so when I began to go to school, I wouldn't say it was necessarily a culture shock, but it was definitely a culture change. I dove into an environment that was different than what I was accustomed to. The kids were different, they reasoned different, they came from different backgrounds than me. They weren't from my neighborhood, they weren't from my city. And so a lot of things that were normal to me were not normal to them, and vice versa. I remember I would get teased for things that I didn't know were, important to anybody. I remember I had these pair of Ed Hardy shoes that had powder blue and hints of pink in them and things. And I found out later that behind my back, a lot of people thought that I was gay when they first met me because of the color of my shoes. Whereas, from where I stood, I just thought that the colorway was tough. You know what I'm saying? It was just so many things and so many different disconnects that I just, I had to adapt to and had to catch. And not to mention, I did not realize how important material possessions were to just the kids and the people around me. Like, not to mention, I didn't come from a household where we could have afforded for me to have every new shoe that dropped, whereas everybody around me was finding some way, somehow, whether it was their parents, and I think majority of it was their parents. It's like they're getting literally every single new Jordan, new shoe that's coming out every month, every 2 months, all the newest clothes, different things, which is all well and fine, but it also created like this type of, competition or hierarchy, just in the environment. And it was just very, very difficult for me to navigate. And I would go from having really, really good days to having really, really bad days. And I would go from feeling decent about myself to feeling very, very low about myself. And I struggled with this for years until I got to, I say, around 11th grade. And I learned some very, very important things that took my confidence from a basement level and sent it to the moon. And those things are what I would like to share with you today. Today, I'm going to be giving you all 3 truths that will instantly boost your confidence. Let's talk about it. So, the first thing I want to say before we get into these 3 truths is just that confidence, I believe, can be a very taboo thing. I think sometimes people confuse confidence for ego and pride, and I would not like to place this or group this with any of those. When I say confidence, when I'm trying to invite you into confidence, I'm trying to invite you into a position where you can look at yourself in the mirror physically and metaphorically and be happy with what you see. Be content with what you see. Have joy in what you see. A lot of people, they wake up and the first thing that they do is criticize themselves. A lot of men, the first thing that we do when we wake up is think of what we don't have, what we need to get, what somebody's going to judge us for, how we're going to defend ourselves. And that's no way to live. I would love for you to see the greatness that is inside of you. I would love for you to see the gifts and the talents and the just the magnitude of purpose and skills that are just resting on you and that were baked into your DNA before you even came out of your mama. Yeah, I had to say it that way. And so I need you to understand today that this confidence isn't just some frivolous thing, but this is you understanding that you were created in a very, very, very valuable fashion. And I'm hoping with these three truths that you can put them in your pocket, take them with you, and regardless of what situation you're sitting in, regardless of what room you're standing in, regardless of who you're standing in front of, you understand that you are important, that you are of value, and that you matter, and that regardless of what anybody says or does, that you will be okay and that you are okay. All right, so man, check me out, check me out. The first truth that I need you to understand on today is that you were created equal to any and everybody that you could ever meet. You were created equal to any and everybody you could ever meet. How do I know? Look at yourself. Take an inventory. I'm not even trying to get into like semantics and things. It's like just being very, very, very real. You breathe in and out just like who? Any and everybody else. You have blood circulating through your veins just like who? Any and everybody else. Of course, we do have different situations, but I'm sure probably 99% of the individuals listening to this podcast, you have two hands, you have two legs, you move about, you make decisions, you have a brain between your ears, right? And so the thing is, at times, I think we get caught in this comparison battle where we start looking at ourselves versus others, and just for some reason are always able to give every other person the benefit of the doubt without seeing our true beauty. I'm actually about to grab a prop real fast. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to do it. Uh, okay, so just in case you are listening and not watching the video form of this segment, in my hands I have a Snapple. This is a zero sugar Snapple tea. The flavor is lemon tea, naturally flavored, right? Now, the thing about this bottle right here, the thing about this tea is that it isn't the other flavor. This isn't the raspberry flavor. This isn't a strawberry kiwi flavor. This is just the lemon tea flavor. But the thing about it is, for this bottle to make it into my hands, it had to go through a factory, okay? And in this factory, there were thousands on thousands on thousands of bottles just like it manufactured. And after the bottle was manufactured, put through the press, heated, molded, labeled, it was filled with the juice, and the juice that fills this bottle filled thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of other bottles just like it. And once those bottles were filled with the juice, they were packaged and put into a case, and that case was sent to stores all across America. And those cases contained the thousands on thousands on thousands on thousands of bottles, and those bottles created thousands on thousands on thousands in number of cases. What is the point of this? The point that I'm trying to get you to understand is that just like these bottles were created in a mass fashion, when you walk out into the world, when you look on your social media, when you are moving about, you are being influxed with a great number of individuals surrounding you in the exact same way that they got onto this planet is the exact same way that you got onto this planet. The exact same way that they have to make decisions and navigate is the exact same way that you have to make decisions and navigate. Did we all come here at the same time? No. Did we all come here at the exact same temperature? No. At the exact same height, weight? No. Same families? No. Same backgrounds? No. But we all got here the same way, and we all have to leave the exact same way. And so, what I need you to understand is, as much as you would like to compare yourself to somebody else and say what you are and say what you aren't, I'd like to give this to you today to understand that you are no better and you are no worse than anybody around you. You cannot for 1 second begin to make the claim invalidated that you are better or that you are worse than anybody that you could ever encounter. I need you to understand that you are equal. You are afforded and you are deserving of the exact same persecutions, and you are just as worthy of the good things, the opportunities. You are just as worthy of the ridicule as you are the blessings and the kind words. There's nothing that makes you any better or worse, more deserving or less deserving than anybody else. The sooner that you can understand this, the sooner you can stop looking around and trying to make the whole world your enemy and everybody better than you and slump into this place where you just think that you're worthless, because the fact of the matter is you have no more or less value than anybody else, because you were created by the same God in the same fashion, and you have the same blood running through your veins and have to die the exact same way as everybody else one day. Okay. And so I'm giving this to you in a very raw fashion. Um, but if you would allow yourself to take hold of this and really let it sit inside you and make peace with it, I think you would begin to see that it makes no sense to put yourself in comparison and begin to down yourself, because there's no substantiation for the belief to begin with. But building on top of that truth, that leads us to truth number two. Truth number two is true value is embedded even when it is not recognized. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. Your true value is embedded inside of you even when somebody else or anybody else does not recognize it or pay it any attention. Okay, let's break this down a bit. When it comes to the conversation of value, right? The average person attributes value to something based on their wants or needs. Meaning that if the object in question is not something that they want or need, it is not going to be of value to them. Case in point, an individual who is very tall is not going to find much value in a step stool, okay? They have no issue reaching up high and being able to grab something off of that top shelf, off of on top of the cabinet, what have you. Another example, an individual who lives a vegan lifestyle is not going to find much value at all in beef, steak, chicken, fish, what have you, because for them, their health, their decisions, their lifestyle, meat is of no value. They do nothing with it. It awards them nothing. It is the exact same situation in the conversation of your gifts, your talents, your abilities, as miraculous as they may be. I wish everybody could be like Avery and think that you are a superstar and think that you're freaking awesome. Okay? I wish, but that's just not how life works. You could be the kindest, most encouraging, most analytical, most awesome person in the entire universe, and there will be somebody who does not see your value because they do not need your kindness. They might actually feel like they need a kick in the butt. They may not need your generosity. They may feel like they have everything that they need, but they might feel as though they need somebody that can distribute the things that they do have so that other people who are in need can get the things that they need. Value is contingent on what somebody wants or needs, okay? And so by you understanding this, I would hope that you could transition to a place where you are no longer attributing your personal value to the opinion of others. Because when you realize that you are in a when you are living in a world full of fleeting emotions, full of fleeting situations where people's opinions, wants, and needs change at the drop of a hat, you'll realize that their opinion of you and perception of you is frivolous in the first place. And the only opinion and perception of you that matters is first God's and then yours. Okay? When you allow yourself to adopt this understanding and live through it, it does two things. It allows you to reclaim your perception of self and steal that away from anybody else because it was never theirs to begin with. But it also helps you realize that it serves you to seek out and float in places where your skill sets and your abilities and your talents are celebrated rather than degraded. You find yourself in a situation where beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but that is literally so true, okay? In where you realize that it would make for a better and more beneficial life to you and others to float in places where your skill set is actually needed and can be appreciated. A lot of times we hear this in the conversation of dating, right? When they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but that is literally so true, okay? In one situation, you'll find yourself with individuals who ridicule you, talk about you, do not want to deal with you, don't even want to hear you speak, will push you away, cast you down, and literally for doing the exact same things, having the same things to offer, another individual will give you the coat off of their back, call you every day, defend you and protect you with their life and every resource they have, because what you bring to the table for them is of so much value that they are willing to do almost anything to maintain close proximity and contact. I'm not telling you this to say that you should just be building your concept of self or your confidence on the opinions of those that you search out and find that just so happen to have a need that you're able to fulfill. But I'm hoping to get you to see that on top of detaching your sense of self and perception of self from the opinions of others, there is actually a scenario and situation which is just life where there's certain individuals and certain spaces that will benefit from what you have to offer. And there's certain individual situations and spaces that just honestly won't, and that's okay. But when you allow yourself to come to these terms, you can now function and have a paradigm shift where you are actually cognizant, you're actually mindful of where you are, what's going on, and what you actually do have to offer to that space, and realize that nothing is personal, but it's literally just what's going on paper, which is okay. But this second truth, right? This second truth, it leads into the third truth, okay? And this third truth is that your confidence oftentimes will grow through your service, okay? I'm gonna say that one more time. Your internal confidence, your perception of self, how you value yourself or how you feel about yourself, a lot of times will grow through you being of service to others, by you doing for others, being kind to others, offering something of value to others. Okay. Why is this? First and foremost, is because you were created in the image of God, right? You were created by a God that gave a creation that is worthy of death a very, very comfortable and fulfilling life of sustenance, provision, and a lot of things that they want, and the autonomy and freedom to make decisions and go after things that are good for them and bad for them. You were created in the image of a being that is generous and solely gives with honestly receiving nothing to themselves in return. And so I don't think it's by any mistake that when you allow yourself to emulate that model, finding things that you have of value to offer and giving those things away, helping others, taking care of others, teaching others, pulling others up, that it just so happens to do something with your internal self. You begin to see that you actually do have value because you are giving that value to others. You're finding that when you put your hands on things, they get better. When you say certain words, they encourage. When you bring certain things and you put them into the oven, something better and more flavorful comes out. Okay. It's by no mistake that when you allow yourself to be somebody of value and service to others, that you also simultaneously begin to see, hey, I actually am able to do good things and I like how that feels. Now, I will caution you, I would hate for you to get to a codependent place where you believe that you are only as good as what you were able to do for others. But if you hold on to truth number one, I think you'll be able to avoid falling into that trap by understanding that nobody's any better or worse than anybody else. But in terms of navigating this internal conflict of what do I do? What do I do? What's my purpose? X, Y, and Z. A lot of times you'll even find that just by being a person of service, by being willing to help and being willing to do, you find what your knack is. You find what your niche is. You find what you are able to do that comes natural and easy to you versus would be 10 times harder for somebody else. Okay. And so I would hope and I pray that you would take these three truths and put them in your pocket and hold them close to your heart, because when you are able to walk through life, right? When you are able to walk outside and take on the world, realizing that everything that you need, God has put inside of you, especially if you allow Him to be your fuel and to be your protector and go before you and you consult Him. Like, it's kind of crazy because you'll find yourself in a situation where nothing can stop you, nothing can harm you, nothing can hold you down. You know what I'm saying? And I want that for you so bad, because just like you right now, if you're listening to this podcast, so many of us, I know I've been in seasons where I had so many opportunities at my fingertips. I had so many resources at my fingertips. I had so many things that I could have capitalized on, but my perception of self, my confidence, and honestly, my faith was so low that I let opportunities pass me by. I let growth pass me by. I wasted years. I wasted so much because I felt as though I wasn't worthy. I felt as though I couldn't achieve. I felt as though I couldn't do. I felt as though I was incapable. But one thing, if I haven't learned anything else, is that anything is possible. Not, I don't mean to be cliche, but what is possible for every single last one of us is larger than our logic can comprehend. And that the only way to fail is to stop trying. Literally, the only way to fail is to stop trying, okay? And so I want you to take these three truths with you, understanding that number one, you were created equal to literally anybody and everybody that you could ever meet, okay? And understanding that your true value is stuck inside you. Nobody can strip it from you, regardless of if they see it, recognize it, or don't see it or recognize it. And understanding that you will see your confidence in yourself grow and your concept of self grow when you allow yourself to be of service freely to others. One more time, my name is Avery Taylor. This is the Larger Than Logic podcast, and I am so glad you have allowed me to be a part of your journey.